What's up guys, welcome back into the attic. I'm Ollie Smith. Thank you to all the guys that watched the video, subscribed last week. I've got more stuff coming this week. I got a friend working on graphic design, so it looks a little less iMovie-like in the transitions. But for now, we're just gonna wing it and we're gonna kick straight off with the Liverpool game, and what a game it was. Liverpool came into Stamford Bridge and it was a game that a lot of Chelsea fans thought they might even be able to nick a win off the defending champions. And actually, everything looked good until, obviously, the Andreas Christensen red card. Look, you can't excuse what he did. It seems weird to say that he's a young defender still, but a mistake like that against a player like Sadio Mane, in that situation when the game is still finely balanced and Chelsea looked threatening, that's a mistake of a young defender. So even though his age might not be too young mentally, Christensen proved that he is not at that level yet. That means that Chelsea can rely on him week in, week out. It was a rookie mistake and it completely changed the game for the Blues. It meant that not only did Kai Havertz have to come off at half-time and be replaced with Tomori and all these kind of different changes that didn't suit this Chelsea team, which then meant Timo Werner up front was effectively isolated and Mason Mount couldn't work as well either because so much of the Blues had to change. So much had to change with that red card. It changed everything. The team was settled, although sitting back for sure, but settled. Playing on the counter-attack, but still settled. And against a team like Liverpool, if you look even half as comfortable as Chelsea did in that first 43 minutes, including putting pressure on at times, you're doing well. Christensen absolutely did not have to make that challenge, and you can't fault the red card. It was a clear red card. It kind of looked a little bit like a rugby tackle. It was just an awful mistake at an awful time, and the Blues paid for it. Simple as that. Now, of course, the flashpoint and the trigger man, as always, is Kepa Arrizabalaga. He came in today under pressure because that Brighton win where he made the mistake on the goal, he had to prove himself, and what does he do but effectively pulls Zacharias and passes it to the other player and they pot it. You can't make that kind of mistake, especially as you can't make that mistake full stop as a professional goalkeeper. You definitely cannot make that mistake as the most expensive goalkeeper in the world. You never ever will get away from it. And you look at him playing, Kepa, it's all mental for him now because you've heard the rumours surrounding Chelsea. Mendy is supposedly already on his way. Ren said that Mendy had left the team. Chelsea have yet to announce that Mendy is part of the team. But you're watching a player who still makes saves. Like in the game, he still produced 3 or 4 big saves. And yet he makes a critical mistake at a critical moment, and that's it. And it's very possible that we've seen the last of Kepa Arrizabalaga in a Chelsea shirt. It's very possible. And we're confronted with this situation of where, do you play Kepa in the midweek cup game to try and boost his confidence? Or do you think if Chelsea concede a goal, because quite frankly it looks like they'll concede a goal against almost any attack at this point, do you play Kepa and hope he makes those big saves and gets confidence, or do you put him in front of a defence that still isn't strong enough to compete properly at the highest leagues and risk damaging his confidence further? As I say that Kepa is the best goalie the Blues have, it's proving harder and harder to justify that with performances like he did today. And it wasn't that he was actually that bad. If you watched his game, minus the obvious, he got a good hand to a couple crosses, he took some catches, he did all of these things that we actually haven't seen him do a lot. And yet it doesn't matter that he collected crosses, that he was vaguely imposing in and around his 6-yard box because of the mistake for the second goal. The question also kind of sticks around this defense. You know, Tiago Silva will come into the lineup. He has to come into the lineup. But where does he play? Does he have the legs still to play as a part of a back four? You think maybe if you play Silva and a faster defender like Zuma, that might actually work out and work between the two. Of course, there's the question of Antonio Rudiger, who we still haven't seen, and he didn't even make the bench today. So either there's a real issue, or there's a injury issue that we just haven't known about, and you can't think that it's a personal issue because Rudiger apparently played such an important role in getting both Timo Werner and Kai Havertz to join the Blues. It would be a weird twist and a complete 180 to see him suddenly frozen out by Frank Lampard. The question comes back to Tiago Silva and how is he going to feature into this lineup, because obviously Ben Chilwell is absolutely going to slot straight in and Alonso is out the door. Quite frankly, you know, what does it matter with Alonso? Because Ben Chilwell is absolutely in as soon as he can be. Tiago Silva has yet to prove that he can play at the speed of the Premier League, because playing in France is a completely different type of game and a completely different speed to that of the Premier League. Everybody knows that. The Premier League is unrivaled in that sense. And we have to see if this Tiago Silva entering the team is going to be like when John Terry was on his last legs and he had Gary Cahill next to him. And Cahill was faster and more agile, and that was a good foil for Terry, because John Terry was still able to organise the defence, make the blocks, get the headers in, be the dominant force, but his legs gave up on him and Cahill was able to mop up. So a player like Rudiger or Zuma, who is faster, and I guess, dare I say, Christensen is faster, is possible to play. I think Tomori had a good showing today, but he's not at a level where he can be trusted at the same rate that I think you would trust Kurt Zuma, at least at this stage. Kurt Zuma has done nothing to deserve losing his place, and I think we'll probably see more of Tomori while Tiago Silva gets up to match fitness. But this break that Christensen's now going to have thanks to the red card means that Silva will definitely be brought into the lineup. It's just a matter of when and how Lampard brings him into the team. There was also a curious part today, which was after the red card, which came almost straight at the end of the first half, why Lampard at that point knew, with 10 men, knew he would be on the defensive and try to squeeze out a point against Liverpool, and yet he didn't switch to a back five. There was still Azpilicueta, there was still Tomori on the bench, and of course he brought Tomori on. But is this a question of just a bit of Lampard missing the buck on a tactical change? We've seen Lampard, you know, he obviously has a tactical mind. He outfoxed Mourinho twice last season. He's done it against Pep in the restart against Man City. So he obviously understands how he can shift a team and shift a dynamic. But this kind of situation has never really happened for Frank before. And, you know, he needed a bit of that Mourinho guile, that Mourinho would instantly make a decision, make the change, and it would flip the dynamic of the team, and it would be done not to try and play the same way, but just to conserve the points. Lampard didn't do that. He chose to go back with that four across the back and keep those three midfielders in to try and, I guess, slow down the transition of the Liverpool team, which plays so well with that midfield. And of course, when you're coming up against a team with 10 men and then it's Thiago coming on, of course you're going to be cut apart with his passing because he is such a phenomenal talent. But there has to be a real question mark as to why Lampard didn't instantly make that change and bring on two defenders or shift the team back, because with 10 men you're not going to be able to press Liverpool the way you would press them with 11, and Lampard had to know that. And so you have to ask that question: did he just miss it, or was he too confident, too cocksure of his own idea that Chelsea would still be able to press and still be able to nip something from the game if they continued to try and move and be a little more flexible, even though they only had 10 men? It's a question that you have to ask. And yes, it might sound a little critical and a little harsh to call out Frank Lampard in this way, but expectations are obviously different this year. And you can't let that kind of red card, no matter how inconvenient, slow you down. Of course it will, but you have to adapt. And we didn't really see any adaptation from Frank Lampard in terms of how the team set up or how the team played. You know, it's not all bad for the Blues. Chelsea performed admirably for about 43.5 minutes of the game. Against Liverpool with 11 men, they absolutely asked questions. They looked comfortable in possession, which is something that we haven't said a lot about Chelsea in recent games, both, you know, against Brighton and in the preseason game, and of course in parts of the restart. But there were definitely good signs that have come out of this, and it's hard to say that, you know, on the back of a 2-0 defeat against the champions, where we kind of got taken apart with ease in the second half, but everything changed on that red card. Of course, everything changed on that red card. And now it's just time to hit refresh. Everybody knew the Blues were probably facing Liverpool too early. You know, you wanted Chelsea to be there with Tiago Silva fully integrated into the team. You wanted Ben Chilwell, you'd want Pulisic and Ziyech both to be available and either off the bench or starting to add another bit of, you know, a dynamic that Chelsea doesn't really have at certain points that we've seen so far with Werner, Mount and Kai up front. It's looked a little bit disjointed, but it's not all bad, and this midweek game will have a chance to see, you know, Tammy Abraham probably start, Olivier Giroud to get some action off of the bench. Frankly, Ross Barkley will come on and have a stormer of a game because he always does against lower opposition. Maybe Callum Hudson-Odoi will finally come true and have a good performance and ask questions of Lampard in his selection decisions. But it's a time to hit a reset. It's time to forget that Liverpool game. It was a tough game, only made tougher by the situation of the red card. Now it's a chance to kind of hit regroup, to learn from that little bit and move on. Thanks for watching, guys. See you midweek after the cup game. All the best. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Appreciate likes, comments. Bring it on. Cheers.